Hello and welcome to HITC Sport, and everyone needs to leave Jurgen Klopp alone. Liverpool are a club in crisis right now. Well, not a real crisis, but in a football world where every little thing gets blown out of proportion and you're either the best thing since sliced bread or you need to reassess your life and find a new career, yeah, they're in crisis. The pressure's been mounting on Jurgen Klopp in recent weeks. Before Christmas it looked like his side could possibly run away with the league title again. Now it's February and some people don't even think they'll make the top 4. Liverpool's demise sums up what a completely bonkers season we're having. A year where one moment you can be title contenders, the next you're sat at home watching repeats of this morning because you got the sack. A year where one moment you're going to take your club down to the championship for the first time ever, the next you're an outside bet for the top 4. A year where one moment you're rubbish under one manager, then a few weeks later you're still really rubbish under another. And a year where no matter what Steve Bruce does, you can't get rid of him. It's like chewing gum on the bottom of your shoe you just can't get rid of, no matter how much you scrape and cry yourself to sleep. Anyway, getting off track here. Overreactions are rife in football nowadays, as the social media generation refuse to give anyone time. You're either in or you're out, you're the best or you're the worst. And right now, for some people, Jurgen Klopp and his Liverpool side are the worst. They're embarrassing champions, they're a disgrace, they're a shadow of their former selves. They should all have their honours taken off them because they've been so poor. Although that might have changed since last night, obviously I'm making this video before the take on RB Leipzig in the Champions League, so who knows what's gone down. Maybe they'll get a vital away goal in Hungary against a German side. I mean, the away goal rule's rubbish anyway, now it's just taking the biscuit. Anyway, maybe they won 5-0 and Liverpool are the best team in the land again, or they got beat 7-1 and Thiago will be better served working in Subway and assisting the sandwich makers. But more on him later. Anyways, things stand, Liverpool are 6th in the table, 13 points adrift of Manchester City, who've also got a game in hand. It would take a minor miracle for Liverpool to overcome that gap, so Klopp's right in conceding the title. But that just doesn't mean they're bad champions. Defending the Premier League title is a hard thing to do. Since the Premier League began back in 1992, the two Manchester sides and Chelsea are the only teams to defend the title. City have done it once, Chelsea have done it once, while Man United did it 6 times, including 2 hat-tricks of titles. Even the Arsenal Invincibles, lauded as the greatest team ever in Premier League history, couldn't defend the title. That didn't suddenly make them a bad team. There isn't a little asterisk next to their title win saying 2004 winners but they were rubbish the year after. Just like Liverpool, theirs won't say 2020 but they blew the chance to get more than 100 points, then were rubbish after that. Every title's worth the same. Like Roy Keane said, you don't get extra points for breaking records or whatever. This isn't some sort of school project on Egypt or the bloody Himalayas. No matter what happens come the end of the season, Liverpool were absolutely dominant last season, and that's why they won the Premier League with ease. Fast forward to this season and to fight to even get in the top 4. They're out of it at the minute and could soon be even further down the table with Everton and Villa boasting games in hand. But just because they're 6th now doesn't mean they'll finish there. The gap between themselves and second is 6 points, which can easily be overturned. It might not be, but there's still 14 games to go. If Liverpool overcome this storm and end up coming second, no one should be crying at home or ranting so hard on the internet that they'll burst a blood vessel. Man City look unstoppable this season, just like Liverpool last year. It's their year. Pep Guardiola has fixed the issues he's had, and after a slow start, they look like a side that just cannot be denied another Premier League title. But if you look at all of the chase and pack, the teams dreaming of getting at the top 4, you can pick flaws with all of them bar probably Leicester. Throughout the season they've all had various blips, which is why the Premier League is so close this season. Home advantage is no longer a thing with no fans in the ground, while fixture congestion and squad rotation is creating a division more akin to the Championship where anyone can beat anyone. But focusing more on Liverpool, and I'm sorry but I can't look past the injuries, particularly the one to Virgil van Dijk. I said last season that Aymeric Laporte being out cost Man City the title, and Van Dijk is a similar, if not more important figure at Anfield. But even if it'd just been him injured, Liverpool could have coped, but they've gone on to lose Joel Matip and Joe Gomez, all 3 of Liverpool's centre-backs out long term. That's some serious bad luck, and in a way it's what has cost Liverpool the title. But can you really blame Jurgen Klopp for that? The bloke's been forced to play 2 of his best midfielders at the back for goodness sake. It's like Ross and Rachel just becoming background characters in Friends and the main cast being Gunter and the naked bloke from over the road. The thing is, Klopp has been let down by the owners. When Dejan Lovren left last summer, a replacement should have been signed. To think that 3 senior centre-backs was enough in a season where you're going to have to play 2 games a week pretty much every week was madness. Liverpool's owners should have gone out, brought in a replacement, maybe even a big name like McConnell to really flex their muscles after the title. But instead they stood still, which was the worst thing they can do after success. Sure, they brought in Kabak and Davies in January, but they were literally just last minute deals to try and paper over the monster cracks that have formed on Merseyside. Signed Kabak last summer, and by now he'd be settled, making a difference possibly, yet now he's walking into a house fire with a tiny water gun and a load of people analysing his every move. No pressure, kid, but if you get this wrong, it's all your fault and we're all going to burn alive. But while Liverpool didn't add a centre-back last summer, they did at least invest elsewhere. Diogo Jota was a wonderful acquisition and actually put pressure on the front three the first time since, well, ever. Even when Divock Origi was scoring key goal after key goal in the Champions League, he was never breaking up that trio. They were like Destiny's Child or even the Sugar Babes. Nowadays, Jurgen Klopp might as well have the Sugar Babes up top. They'd be about as potent. Back to Jota though, a man who was playing wonderfully until being struck down by injury. Since then, there's been no reason to mix up the front three other than fatigue, with the likes of Origi, Minamino and Shaqiri coming in to little or no effect. There's the difference between Man City and Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp has a great team, but Pep Guardiola's got a better squad. City are dominating this season and they've barely had a proper striker. They've coped with their injuries better and had the depth to ensure big players missing out doesn't mean the end of the world. And now we come on to Thiago. Right, Thiago Alcantara is not a flop, so you can take your hot takes and your outlandish opinions and shove them where the sun doesn't shine. I know we live in the stat generation where numbers are all that matter, but who gives a toss that Edison's got a Premier League assist and Thiago doesn't yet? The only thing Thiago can't do is tackle. The bloke's like a bull in a china shop, or the second incarnation of Paul Scholes. If you're not impressed watching Thiago spray the ball about, then I don't know what to say. Maybe football's not for you. He isn't slowing the play down, but he is dependent on the movement ahead of him. But the thing is, if you're a big money signing in the Premier League, people are just desperate to write you off. I mean, look at Bruno Fernandes. He's been absolutely incredible, yet people want to brand him as just a penalty merchant. You can argue that Thiago doesn't suit Liverpool's style and was a silly signing by Klopp, but maybe that's the point. Thiago was brought in to give Liverpool an alternative way of playing. They've had the same style for years, high intensity pressing, but eventually teams work out how to stop you, and that's what you've got to do. You've got to evolve as a club. If you look at some of Liverpool's results, they've struggled against the lesser clubs, the ones who've just sat in and reduced the space for Liverpool. That's why a player like Thiago's been brought in. The issue is, he hasn't been able to play his preferred role yet. Only once has Thiago had a more natural role in midfield, and that was against Everton. In fact, that was the only time I remember this season that Liverpool got to play their strongest team. Thiago was the best player on the pitch by an absolute mile, and if it wasn't for a crazy VAR call, they would have won. But more on that in a moment. In an ideal world, Liverpool would play a midfielder Fabinho holding, then Thiago and Jordan Henderson in front. But instead, Thiago's being asked to sit in the middle while the other two play at the back. It's square pegs in round holes, and comes back to Liverpool not adding a centre-back over the summer. They got to play that ideal midfield three against Everton, and they were incredible all afternoon. Had that team continued all season, this would be a very different title race. It's like asking Kevin De Bruyne to play the sitting role. He can't do what Rodri or Fernandinho can do. But as I mentioned before, that Everton game was defined by two moments. The challenge by Jordan Pickford on Virgil van Dijk that didn't result in a red, and the Jordan Henderson goal that was chalked off for offside. The offside is what I want to focus on, as it was one of many marginal calls that have gone against Liverpool this season. They dropped points at Brighton when 3 VAR calls went against them, while Leicester's equalised the other day was another tight VAR call and one I'm not even sure they got right. These are incredibly fine margins, and say for example if those 3 decisions had been different, the Reds would be 7 points better off and sitting second in the league, and no idiot out there would be calling for Klopp's head. I know it's just a vocal and stupid minority, but if you think Jurgen Klopp should go, then you need to have a long hard look at yourself in the mirror. Over the previous 2 seasons, Liverpool have been nigh on perfect. In 2019 they ran Man City so close whilst winning the Champions League. Then last season they were unstoppable. Christ, even the year that City picked them to the title, that could have been very different had it not been for an outstanding goal line clearance by John Stones when they played Liverpool. The Reds have been relentless, they've been consistent, they've been at a level that no one thought was possible. Unfortunately for Liverpool, those levels have now dropped. But seriously, what did you expect? It's not possible to be that good for that long, otherwise football will be a pointless sport where the same team wins every season. Christ, it's not possible to be that good at anything for that long. We do a video every day for the past God knows how many years here at HITC, and some of them aren't as good as others, although some will just claim that's on Wednesdays and Saturdays. But back to Liverpool, circumstances change, and this season, things that would normally go right for Liverpool are going wrong. But a lot of things have been out of Jurgen Klopp's control. He can't do anything to stop the injuries, and he can't stop Alisson gifting those goals to Man City the other week. He can't stop Kabak and Alisson clattering into each other to give Leicester a goal. Those are individual moments that can't be coached. But I go back to those levels, and Alisson's mistakes in recent weeks only look so bad because of how good he's been in the past couple of years. Jurgen Klopp has got every inch possible out of this squad in recent years, and this is the first time in a while that things are going wrong. But it's just a bad spell. Liverpool will come again. Jurgen Klopp will come again. That man's had a terrible few weeks. It'll have been hard enough to see his team struggling, all the while dealing with the personal issues that no one should have to deal with. To lose your mother and not even be able to go home and see her, that's heartbreaking. Obviously he wants to keep football and family separate, and on the pitch, Liverpool will bounce back. You can argue he's burnt out and needs a break, but no one knows Klopp better than himself, and if he was that worried about burnout, he wouldn't have signed a new deal until 2024. There'll come a time when Jurgen Klopp isn't the Liverpool manager, but he'll leave on his terms, and that time certainly isn't now. The calls for Jurgen Klopp to go are absolutely criminal. I don't know what happened last night, but Liverpool could still end up winning the Champions League this season. Then people will look back at another wonderful year for Jurgen Klopp and the Reds. These short-term, over-the-top reactions need to come to an end. People need to leave Jurgen Klopp alone and put some respect on the name of one of football's best managers today. Liverpool are not a club in crisis. They're a team going through a rough patch which is being overstated because of their previous heights. They are victims of their own success. So there we go, that's the end of the video. A bit of a change of pace from the usual japes, but I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. As always, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to HITC Sport. And until next time, we will see you around.